Anyway, does everybody know who I am or how I'm standing here, or do you want me to tell you my? You want to tell? I'll tell you my story. Well, back in the 1900s, 1984, June 11th, my goal in life back then was to be a Yellow Pages salesman. You needed 5 years printing experience to do this. Well, what happened was I was working at the telephone company in a business office at the time, and one of my managers offered for a bartender at her home in Lexington for a party she was having in Lexington for $50. Asked if anyone wanted to volunteer. I was first hand up, not for the $50, to be in the right room with the right people to hopefully get an interview to become a salesman. Anyway, after pouring much red liquor, some beer, I got better looking and more interesting as the night went on, and I got noticed by a few people. 2 days later, I got a phone call from the lady who had the party, and with a little whine on her voice, she said, "Joe, I just had dinner with my son John, who just got promoted to be sales manager for a printing company in Boston, and they're looking for a guy to handle the South Shore. Thought of you." So she got me the interview. I got the job. So that's where I began. Sounds great, right? Well, this was the offer, $200 a week. All right, $200 a week, 5% commission. There's your territory, go get 'em, Tiger. That was it. So I had really limited knowledge of what I was talking about. I did have a good work ethic because at the phone company, at the time, it was during divestiture, where they split up the monopoly and you had an opportunity to buy your home phone. So we'd make 75 to 100 dials a day to existing customers to sell them their existing phone. So I had that going for me. That was it. So at the time, we sold book printing, and I told you earlier that that's like a finite market. We were calling on publishers and high technology companies to sell the paperback books. Well, I used back then at the time a directory of 2,700 high technology companies and 240 publishers that were in Boston book builders as my Bible to dial. And so my routine was to make 35 dials a day and then go out and visit 20 customers a day. And what I did by accident, I'm kind of like now I think I'm like a sales scientist. You know, I make these little models and I see if they'll work. So this particular time, I used the rule of 300. I said, what would happen if I took my 300 wish list accounts, segregated them by zip code, by street address, and door knocked 20 a day? And what would happen would be I would revisit them 6 to 8 times in a year. Now, that sounds like a great plan, right? Well, using that plan, guess how much I sold my first 10 months in the business, doing all that work? Anybody? I was 23, you know. So I look like I just got out of my first Holy Communion. I shaved 3 times a week, not because I had to. So, anybody want to guess? Well, $60,000 total. Okay. Average account size was $15,000 annually. So at this point, I'm going to home to my 1-bedroom apartment, looking in the mirror, saying, "Am I wearing the right color socks? Is my tie on straight enough? Why isn't anybody buying from me?" And I was soul searching. I almost quit. I got advice from my Little League coach, Bill Hogan. I went out to dinner with him and said, "Bill, I'm doing all this work and it's not going. Maybe I'm not cut out for this." His advice to me was, "Joe, give it a year. You don't want to be known as a job hopper." So I took his advice. Good thing I did, because guess what I sold the 11th month?
200,000?
370,000. And what happened was, all the buyers that I was routinely calling on saw that I was really young, and they experienced most printing salesmen were they were churning through printing salesmen, so that they were just waiting for me to stick. So they saw that I kept coming back and trying. The 7th to 8th month into it, 16 of them gave me a shot. So I opened up 16 accounts in 1 month, and using that system in book printing sales, I accumulated 23 new accounts a year for the 10 years that I was with the company. And when I left that company, I handed off my legacy to a lucky guy named Brian Morgan, who was roofing houses at the time in the middle of the winter, 188 working accounts, which represented over, I think, 60 to 70% of the company's business. And I was the least impressive guy on the bench. I wasn't the guy with the tank. I normally do not dress like this. I mean, I had to wrap myself right for this, but I'm normally more casually dressed and just a normal, regular Joe. So anyway, this is 1994. My wife's brothers had gone to USF in the 70s. They stayed in Tampa. Her parents moved in the 80s, stayed. Her sister moved late 80s, so she was the only one left. We had been married 10 years, so she wanted to move to Tampa. So I said, well, I'm a summer guy. You know, I can reinvent myself. Let's go. So I come to this territory. I didn't know anyone in the city, and my brother-in-law owns a office furniture company. I don't know if you've ever heard of Friedman's Office Furniture. He opened it 1 week out of college in 1980, and I came down in 1994, and I told him, I said, you know, I really don't know what I want to do, but why don't I, he didn't have an outside sales force at the time, why don't I work for you till I find a real job? Well, 9.5 years later, I left the company. Within 3 years, I was number 37 in the country out of 7,500 reps that sold Hahn furniture, which is mid-market furniture. And basically, the way I did that was, I didn't know anything about the product, but I identified, I never understood, back in Boston, they didn't have these networking clubs where you had to go to, so I went to them frequently. And I noticed that I got a little bit of business out of them, but it took a really long time. So again, I went back to my scientist mindset, and I said, well, what are my major competitors doing right now? How are they doing it? And I noticed they were all friends with commercial realtors. So I said, well, how can I become a friend with a commercial realtor? And what I did was I identified 31 of the top brokers in the city, and I went to each one of them with the same value proposition. I said, what's a good lead for you? And what they told me was, no, I answered the question. I said, is it knowing a president of a company before they need to buy a building or lease a building? They said, yes. I said, well, how do you find those presidents before they have a broker? Well, we have these lists that we order 18 months in advance where the leases expire. We just call on those lists 18 months in advance to try to court the president and become the gal or the guy before the next broker does. I said, well, how's that going for you? Well, I got a lot of listings. I go to a lot of leads groups. You're not making the calls, right? Right. I said, well, believe it or not, I don't like cold calling, but I don't mind cold calling, and that list is valuable to me. How would you like it if I cold called the list for you, bird dogged it for furniture, and every time I run into a commercial real estate need, I give you the lead? Great. And how about everybody I already sold furniture to, I get you a handshake with the president of that company while they're in the middle of a lease? They said, great. Well, 6 brokers took me up on that offer. All right. All I ask of you is that you make, when you do a deal, you make me the furniture guy. So they were good with that. So 6 brokers basically gave me a referral a quarter, which is 24 a year. Now, for a 5,000 square foot building, you can fit about $50,000 worth of furniture into the building. $10,000, $100,000 worth of furniture. So I had set up a referral stream of a minimum of $300,000 a quarter, or $1.2 million a year of new business from 6 referral sources. That's called synergy, because I'm calling on the same customer for a different reason. And I'm able to easily refer them to that customer because we have synergy. So that, coupled with calling on their list to find deals myself and growing my existing accounts, that's how I got to number 37. It was a combination of doing those 3 things. That's how I learned how synergy works. So again, fast forward to 2004. What happened to me was I became who I chummed around with. All my friends were commercial brokers. They said, Joe, you need to get into this business. You're already talking to the owners. So one of my friends took me in, taught me the mechanics of how to do the transactions with the intentions of me moving on 3 years out, which we existed well together. He benefited from my production. I benefited from his knowledge. And the way I'm wired is I didn't want to take anything from him, so I decided 3 years later, which is January 17th, 2007, probably not the best time to go into the commercial real estate business. I was an army of one, landed in a territory that I just selected because I live right up the street near the Campo Y. I said, why not work in my territory? And why not confine it to a small sandbox of 5 miles so I can dominate a small piece of the universe using geography? So that's what I did. And my first call to action, believe it or not, I didn't get paid to say this, was to join the Chamber of Commerce. Okay? And what I can say about doing that, I didn't know any better. I didn't have any influence in this territory, but I knew that potentially that could be a good way to brand myself in this territory. And so innocently, I decided to be a platinum member, which is a top-notch program, for 3 reasons. 1, you get first position on their website. Okay. 2, you get access to the hierarchy of the chamber. Guys like the man in the corner here, this very successful guy. He kind of likes me because I'm a big dog in a small pond, right?
You did get paid for that.
And 3, you know, everybody in the building roots for you because you're in the minority for size member. Now, I'm not telling you to join as a platinum member, but that was my logic. I've since watered it down to the, I think, bronze level because I couldn't. A lot of it was prepaying for things that I never went to, but I still kept the status of my website and whatnot. So where was I? Oh, plus you get 30 seconds of fame when you join, and you all know this. You're potentially all members anyway, right? So this is what I did with my 30 seconds of fame. Now Sue Luther, who's this guy in the back's mom, had a big barbecue over at her park in 2007, and there were 3 new members. I was one of them. And so this is what I used with my 30 seconds of fame. This is what I said. I said, hi, I'm Joe Cole. I just recently opened Turner Cole Company Real Estate Services. I live in this territory. I just joined the chamber, and I want to grow old with all of you. That's all I said. And this is what happened. 3 people came up to me. One was a threat. It was a residential broker that was just ruffling his feathers, trying to fail me out, and I was nothing. I was just brand new. I had nothing. I had no accounts, no presence in this market. Second person came up was a janitorial service lady who wanted to partner with me for referrals. I said, great. You know, when I started hitting deals, no problem. I think she was from Andover, Massachusetts. So I said, well, you're from Massachusetts? I'm going to help you. Of course, I'm from Boston. And then the third lady that came up to me needed to buy a building. And guess who sold her that building? Found it and sold it to her. Lucky Joe. So that paid for a lifetime membership at the chamber, that one incident. So since then I've been all in. And a year later, I go to sales school with Lucy. Claudia. This is back in 2008. And they all know me as the guy that makes the cold calls, and I'll show you my scorecards to prove it. I have a little recognition device that I carry around with me. I'll pass them out. For every 10 cold calls, I get to color in a block, and my reward for completing a card is I get to start a new card. Isn't that special? I was also noticed by my sales coach, Mark. He says, Joe, you seem to have the knack to thrive in any economy in different industries. You should really write a course, because they invited us to write courses about what we know to share it with our peers. And so this was the year that the movie Yes Man came out. And so I said to myself, what would happen this year if I said, why wouldn't I, this could be good, to every big thing somebody asked me to do? So this is what happened to me. I wound up writing a course, writing a book, writing a fairy tale book, and writing with the help of some really smart people, creating a community blog for salespeople to set goals, get email reminders, accountability, and situational learning, and all within a year. And I'm amazed that I'm even saying that. Now, after spending many, many thousands of dollars, I have a deliverable. Nobody wants to buy it, but that's okay. I know that I'm a time traveler. I know 5 years from now, legions of salespeople will want to buy this and benefit from it. So that's why I'm standing here today. So the way I teach, sorry to get so long-winded about my background, but that's how I became Joe. You know, just a real person that kind of created himself to be at this point. The way I like to teach is on the slideshow is we'll put up the slide and I'll let you guys pick the subject, and I'll talk about the subject and attach a principle. I'll attach a story to it and attach a principle to it. So that way it's random. I don't know what's coming. I kind of know what I'm talking about, but you guys can get involved and have some fun with it. So I guess the way that I've designed my life is, you know, with 3 P's. And what do you think those P's are? Anybody? One of those P's is?
Perseverance.
You give?
Profit?
No. I forgot what I was going to say. No, no, really, in my opinion, I've lived my life based on probabilities, and this won't be in any order. Probabilities, potential, and possibilities. I believe that I'm just an ordinary person that has been on a quest to I'm a self-improvement junkie, so I've been on a quest to understand and improve myself in the area of sales, and I've been around a lot of knowledgeable people in this area that I've gleaned wisdom from, and I just adapted it to my... I'm going to put your mind at ease. We're not going to be walking on hot coals today, okay? And we're not going to climb to the top of the chamber and fly like an eagle. I mean, what I talk about is doing a real job, and the most uncomfortable thing that any salesperson has to do is make cold calls. And I hate cold calling, but I've made $35,000 in my lifetime, door to door. And the way I did that was I came up with a gimmick for myself to trick myself to do the activity. Just baby bites each day, 201 days a year. 402 hours is all I apply to this system. But I'll tell you what, I goof off most of the time because I do the uncomfortable activity that I hate doing 402 hours in a year. And I've noticed, I've tried everything from networking to after-hour mixes and it all comes back to the common denominator. You know, postcard mailings, you name it, email blasts, I've tried it all. And I found this to be the most economical and effective way to find new business quickly. And if you can take this and leverage it with synergy people that do business with the same customers that you do for a different reason. You're going to give out a lot of referrals and you're going to get back a lot of referrals. Last year, I trapped myself to make 2,011 walk-ins, and I track it. 3 out of 10 walk-ins, I get to meet a decision maker. Okay, so that's 600 decision makers I have a belly-to-belly conversation with a year in a 5-mile territory. And of those 600 decision makers, 30 of them have use for what I have to say or sell. So I'll do 20 deals a year just walking in the door. But what I've married up against that was I've partnered with synergistic businesses to do this with me for a couple of reasons. Number one, it gets me to show up, okay? It's like, has anybody here played sports or been in band or, okay, well, how do you win the game? Is it playing the game, or is it running the sprints at 4:30 in the morning after you had a keg party the night before, right? So how do you get to that point? Well, you have a teammate waiting for you. You can't blow that relationship. You have to show up. So I just took that same principle and I put it into my business life. So what it does for you, number one, it gets you to show up. Number two, you get to see a friend once a week for 2 hours. Number three, it makes you braver on the calls, right? Number four, you can help support each other emotionally. Sales is a tough game. There's a lot of highs and lows. I don't know the roller coaster that you ride on, but I know that I've gone to the top and I've gone to the bottom many, many times. But I've noticed that if I didn't protect myself from prospecting like a rookie every day, you know, I had a pretty scary future, a pretty urgent moment to reinvent myself when I blew up my $1 million accounts in book printing, my $1 million accounts in furniture. You know, you can't rest on your laurels. I learned that the hard way twice, and I said I'm never going to happen again for me. And because of that, I've created a whole game for myself to play every day. And as a matter of fact, right after this session, I'm taking Tom out for 2 hours. He's my medicine for the day, and hopefully he'll get something out of it. So, and then the last thing, if you have the right partners that you go out with, you can actually refer business. Now, I told you I found 20 deals walking in the door. Well, I gave out 28 referrals to 5 people last year that turned into business because they all called on the same customer that I called on for a different reason. And guess what happens when you do that? Who wants to hang around with you? Everybody, right? And what do you get back without even asking? You get referrals back. I got 17 referrals back. Yeah, I don't need a 1-for-1. I mean, 37 deals in commercial real estate is a pretty good year. And that's just doing it 402 hours a year is all I put in there. We lost the power. So anyway, the way this show is going to go is I'm going to show you the subject matter. You guys can pick whatever subject matter you want to talk to. We'll click into it, and then we'll bullet point. Each subject matter has a bullet point to talk about. I'll tell you what happened to me using this process. So we were just talking earlier about how difficult it is to create momentum in a business, and I equate it to like pushing a boulder up a mountain. You know, the first year it's really hard to push that boulder up the mountain. You're doing all this activity and little is happening. I told you about the 10 months it took me to sell 60,000. The second year, the aftermath of your activity from the first year kicks in, and the activity from the second year is piled on top of it, so you get a little bit further to the top. Your third year, the aftermath of year 1 and 2 kicks in, and then your reputation kicks in, so then now the boulder starts running down the hill. That's called momentum. Every company needs that to be successful. And if you interrupt that pattern, either quitting your job or firing your sales manager in the first 2 years, that boulder not only rolls down to the bottom of the hill, but it falls into a ditch. And you got to jack it out and then start rolling it again. So my opinion, This is 4 things that salespeople need. Now, hopefully I'll remember this. I know it's what I needed, okay? Because when you go into a job, you know, every salesperson wants to be successful. You know, the first day of the job, they want to be successful. They get their stapler, they get their pens and pencils, they get their business cards, they get their desk mat, you know, they're all excited, right? And then they get that heavy phone they have to pick up. So here's the thing. The manager doesn't tell them what to do or how to do it, so they try to figure it out on their own. At least that's what I did, and I told you how I try to figure it out on my own. Fortunately, after 28 years, I kind of figured it out on my own, but it took a long time, right? So what they really should do is try to spoon feed direction to their people every day. Tell them where to go and how to go. And my advice would be take your customer base and segregate it by zip code, by street address, and put it on a sheet of paper with 10 names on it, and hand it to your people and say, go out and visit these 10 people, make notes, and come back, and I'll give you a clean sheet tomorrow. I don't care if you go fishing for the rest of the day. Just go out and meet 10 of our customers with this offer, whatever it is. Ours happen to be buildings. Yours could be solar panels. Yours could be staffing opportunities. Yours could be a fit, beautiful future, you know. Yours could be home insurance or car insurance or building insurance or whatever insurance, you know. But the bottom line is the repetition of that and the simplicity of it is it gives your salesperson the focus of where to go and how to go, and take that intelligence back and say, we'll handle all the marketing for you. We'll take the information or the intelligence that you give us and feed it out to other businesses to give them referrals. And guess what's going to happen? We're going to get referrals back. That's how you're going to build your business. And, by the way, you're probably going to trip over a few things just going out 10 a day. So direction is a big part of it. Now, the second part of it is support. Now, when your salespeople come back to you, of course they're going to need technical support, but they're also going to need emotional support. So just make sure if you're an owner of a company or a leader of a sales organization, you're giving your people that support they need. That'll keep them motivated. The third thing they'll need is accountability. And the accountability looks just like I explained to you. It's an easy day. Here's your 10 names. We have them lined up from this corner to this corner. You do this, go fishing for the rest of the day. Just bring me back the sheet. I'll give you 10 names for tomorrow. Okay? And then the last thing they need is recognition. You give salespeople those 4 things, they'll all turn into top producers because they'll become minted in a fashion that would work in any business. Like I said, it took me a long time to figure that one out, but I know it works. I know that's why Lynn's sitting here. I know that's why Al's sitting here, because it's an understandable plan that it's not real hard, is it? What I'm explaining, Al? No. Doesn't take much time either, does it? Yeah. So I've been found out. I don't work very hard. But I do the uncomfortable activities a little bit each day to produce tremendous results. I went to Toastmasters this morning, and one of the members talked about the 80-20 rule, where you can produce 80% of the results from 20% of the uncomfortable activity every day. And so there's no rule in America that you have to work hard or long hours. It's just working right and working smart. And again, we all know this. Doing the uncomfortable activity stinks. But if you can make it fun, it doesn't stink anymore. So if you go out with your friend, it's not that hard anymore. If you're receiving referrals, it's not that hard anymore. So anyways, that's my 4 things that I believe salespeople want and need, or at least what I want and need, and that's what's worked in our business. So anyway, you guys ready to play? So basically this is everything I know. You guys can pick the subject, and then we'll go into that particular slide. Who wants to go first? All right, Shannon. Brand yourself in your territory. This is my Lee Johnson story. Lee's a celebrity. He's hiding in the crowd. I had a friend named Marie who works at Regent's Bank. She met me at a chamber mixer, and she asked if she could go out cold calling with me, because she knew that's what I did, allegedly. And she says, when can we meet? I said, well, what are you doing right now? She called me, and I said, where are you? Oh, we're right on Lumsden Branch. I'm 20 minutes from there. I'll come right over. So I walk in, and I see this mountain of a man sitting behind a mountain of paperwork, just beat down on the day. You know, he's managing his hierarchy that's just putting pressure on him. He's babysitting his staff, trying to get them motivated to go out and find business. And he's looking at me as the golden boy for referrals, okay? And I took his chair and I turned him around and I said, Lee, look out the window. What do you see? Oh, I see Chick-fil-A, Lowe's. I go, you know what I see? I see businesses walking distance from your branch that you could go meet every single day. How about we do this later in the week? So this is a Tuesday afternoon. I come back and pick Lee up at 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning. Marie's with us, so we have a tag along. It's kind of a crowd, but it's okay. Well, we went up to Robertson. We cold called Robinson Street, and the first paradigm that we noticed is everybody was nice to us. Everybody accepted our information, so there weren't any, real threats out there. The second thing we noticed is that some people were actually interested. We made 36 walk-ins that day in an hour and a half, and you picked off, I think, 3 checking accounts that day, just walking in the door. So Lee's all excited. He wants to buy me lunch. I said, oh, he goes, where do you want to go, Joe? I go, well, we could go to Steak and Shake. I'll have a BLT. I'm simple. No, we'll go somewhere nicer than that. So he picks the restaurant. I didn't pick the restaurant, so this is not staged, okay? So he picks Giordano's restaurant. So we're sitting at the table, sipping on our sweet tea, waiting for my chicken Parmesan sandwich, and I tell Lee, I go, the side benefit of doing this is that I get referrals back from the people that I go out with. And so while we're sitting there, Tricia from the chamber has a leads group right in the corner. She comes walking out. She goes, Joe, you need to come in here in a few minutes. There's 2 people that need real estate. Lee's ready to bite into his sandwich. He almost choked on his sandwich. That happened. But you ever see Drew Carey, the actor? Well, picture Drew Carey with a clean-shaven, polished head. Got that picture in your head? Well, that's what my friend Sean looks like. And he sells aptitude tests. Like if you go for a job, you take an aptitude test to get the job, and if you pass the test, you get the job. And he only does it over the phone. But once a week, he used to go out with me door knocking because to help his head trash about to going door to door. And like Lee said, I do not disqualify any doors. So this day I come upon a funeral parlor, and Sean has kind of a nasally, unimpressed voice most of the time. And he says, Joe, you're not going to cold call a funeral parlor. I said, well, Sean, the director of that funeral parlor might know somebody that needs this building. We're going in. So this is where it sounds like a bad joke, but it really happens. So we step through this double door. We land in this dimly lit foyer, and who's waiting for us? A priest, 2 policemen, 4 pallbearers, and 3 tearful-eyed women. So Sean goes into shock, and he steps back into the parking lot. He grabs me by the arm. He tries to take me with him. I pull myself in. Doors close behind me. He's outside. I'm inside. So he sees them firing up the hearse over to the left. So he creeps off the property. He waits for me, like not even staying on the same property. He waits for me, right? And so this is what's going on inside. I'm just trying to make eye contact with one of the employee pallbearers to hand him a flyer and leave because it's the middle of a funeral. And so the you know, after about 30 to 40 seconds milling around, I turn to leave, and I hear over my shoulder, "Excuse me, can I help you?" So I turn around meekly, and I look at the man. He goes, "Why are you here?" I said, "You know what? It's probably not real important why I'm here. I'm just going to leave." He goes, "No, tell me why you're here." I said, "Well, honestly, I have this building. I promised the owner I put out a flyer for. I was hoping to meet the director of this funeral parlor, figuring they might know somebody that needs this building." You know what the guy said to me? "I am the funeral director, and I do know somebody looking for a building." So he takes my card and my flyer, I take his card. So now I walk out the door. They're loading the body into the hearse. I'm holding his card in my hand, smiling like a lark, looking over at Sean. He's looking at his feet, just totally disgusted with me. He couldn't believe what I did, right? And so this is like on a Tuesday, and we go to class on a Wednesday, sales class, where Lucy and I know each other. And I said, "Sean, you have to tell this story in class. Nobody's going to believe Joe on this one." So Sean tells the story. Now everybody in class is just horrified that I did that. And I'm kind of horrified listening to it after the fact. But what happened was my phone started ringing while he's talking. I got buzzed text, and it says, "AC looking for a building in Brandon. When can we see it?" I tapped in 2 o'clock Friday afternoon. "Okay, yes." So he finishes the story. And everybody's just looking, "Joe, I can't believe that one." And I said, "Wait a second, folks. That's not the end of the story." I go, "This is the end of the story. I'm showing a building to a funeral director that was referred to me by the guy I met that day. The bottom line is this: I don't know the right door to knock on, so I knock on every door." Okay, what's the next one? I have lots of stories.
Can you have a higher price for your service? Would you go that way?
Okay, sure. Well, how do you do that?
By giving the value?
Well, the way I do it is I have an inventory of opportunities, so I have walk-away ability on every deal I go on. So if they don't pay my price, or they don't see the value in what I do, I have enough in my back pocket that I don't need. I'm not putting the weight of the world on any interaction with the customer. I'm just there trying to see what the problem is, tell them what I do, how I do it, and how much it costs me to do it. And the reason it costs this much is we try to protect enough profit to service you properly. Now, I'm not here to sell you anything. What do you want to do next? That's what it sounds like. I guess, here's the thing. If you prospect enough or get enough referrals, you have enough opportunities in your back pocket that you can walk away. You can say those things and not be impacted by the loss of it. And usually you don't want people that are price driven. If you get commoditized on something, they're fickle. They're not going to stick around. I like my customers. They like me. I grow old with all of them. You know, so I cherry pick the ones I want to do business with and then avoid the others. You know, so that's how I do it. I don't know if it's the right way, but that's how I do it. So, what happened?
I'm trying to find what you're talking about, boss.
No, you don't have to change it. You don't go back to brand. You don't have to change anything.
Okay.
Brand yourself in your territory. Get back
Yeah,
there.
well,
Yep.
Finding more deals in less time.
Finding more deals. I just told you how to do it. You already lived it. You walk out the door and you meet people. I mean, well, here's the thing. You do an email blast. How long does it take you to get the call back, if you ever get the call back? Months? How about a postcard mailing? How many postcard mailings do you have to do before you get a call back? Right? How about networking? That probably works pretty good, but it still takes a little while, because here's the thing with networking clubs, and I think they're a good thing, but if that's your primary source of business, say you have 10 accounts, right? And you're in a networking club and you're obligated to give out a referral. well, you're going to protect those accounts pretty good, because if the person you hand that referral out to blows it up, now you only have 9 accounts. So my logic is use that as a backup plan, but if you just implement an hour or even a half hour a day to going out and meeting 5 or 10 customers, or walking into 5 or 10 opportunities, you're going to walk into it. I mean, we don't live in a vacuum. I mean, there's business happening every day. I'm going to prove it to Tom after this session. We're going out, and we're going to walk into something, I promise you, because we don't live in a vacuum. And at a minimum, they're going to know about Tom, and they're going to know about Joe, because I walked in the door. How do you think I'm so popular? I walk in your door. You see my picture every 6 weeks. That's how. So I don't know if that's the right answer, but that's how I do it.
How do you personally deal with, you know, an aggressive potential client that you walk into who just doesn't want to even hear what you have to say?
Oh my God, this is a great story. Does anybody have to walk through no soliciting signs in their business? Okay, here's a story right here. So I'm over in the airport district. I have 6,000 square feet. Matter of fact, Lynn's going to be handling this assignment. This was like 6 years ago. We had 6,000 square feet of call center space up in Hidden River Park. And again, you know the drill. I promised the owner to put out a flyer. So I'm by myself, and I come upon this door that says no soliciting on it. So I'm looking at it. I'm saying, oh, shoot. I got a 50-50 chance on this one meeting the fire-breathing gatekeeper, or the 3-headed sales ogre, right? But I promised my owner I'd walk in, so I have to go in, 50-50 chance. So I walk in the door, and who's waiting for me? A tall, attractive, 3-headed sales ogre named Cynthia. Takes my head off. She goes, "Didn't you read the sign?" And this is what I said. And I never rehearsed these words. It just came out this way. I said, "Yes, I read the sign." She said, "Well, why did you come in then?" I said, "Well, unfortunately, it's my job to walk through those signs, because the people I need to meet are on the other side of the sign." And she said, "Well, what do you got?" I said, "Well, I got 6,000 square feet of space. I don't know if you have direct need, or if you know anybody looking for 6." You know what she said to me? Matter of fact, we are looking for 6,000 square feet of space. We're not looking for it over there. We're looking for it in this park. I said, "Well, if you need somebody to find it for you and negotiate against the landlord, I do that too." I give her my card. I leave. 2 weeks later, first of all, this lady was tremendously aggressive and tremendously angry at me. So I left her my card, never thinking I'd hear back from him. 2 weeks later, the president of that division calls me and hires me for that assignment. I wind up locating 6,000 square feet in their park, which they were unaware of, negotiated over $42,000 worth of concessions. The total lease value of that deal was, 5-year deal, was $382,000. I got paid 4 points on that, which is a good day. And so, bottom line, I go back to Cynthia, who was the CFO of that company, and I said, now she loves me, by the way, because I gave her everything she wants, right? I said, "Cynthia, I am so grateful that I was brave enough to walk through that no soliciting sign on your door that day. But I have to tell you, Cynthia, it didn't say no soliciting." She said, "Well, Joe, what did it say then?" I said, "Well, what it said was absolutely no soliciting." So that's how I handled it. Well, number one, it's a good thing to do. I mean, that's number one. But number two, people that have money can give it away. So if you want to be around people that have money, you might want to join a charity. You know, I mean, I'm just saying. And it's a good place to be. So, and what I do is I work with charities that I like. You know, I deliver Meals on Wheels once a week. My mother benefited from that in New England. I go to the YMCA, I donate money. They wrote me into some money yesterday. I gave them money yesterday, the Campo YMCA. And the third charity is through the chamber. You can do Leadership Brandon, and that's a good vessel to work charities, Echo, or some of the other local chapters. So here's the thing. you expand your friend base because you're hanging around other people with a common goal for different reasons. You're branding yourself as a good company because you're giving back to the community, which you should do anyway. I'm grateful for everything we have, so why not give back a little bit? I mean, I only work 402 hours in a year, so I got a lot of time on my hands to do stuff like this. So that's why. We're finding and forming synergistic partner teams like power groups to network together. Here's the thing. Networking clubs have probably 45 companies in them, is that about right? And they're all different types of businesses. So to get to know every single person in those groups intimately, it's pretty hard if you're only meeting for an hour or two a week. And number two, you may not have any ability, like for me, I don't know how to refer a nail person or a, you know, whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's certain things I know how to refer, and there's others that are not in my wheelhouse. So what I do for my real estate company is I know they need a banker, they need an insurance guy or gal, they need furniture, they need computers, they need phones, they need copy machines. So I try to find folks in those categories that they need staffing. It's all business to business, right? So they probably need solar panels too, okay? So what I've done is I have a team of people. I go with a banker, insurance guy, furniture person, phone person, copy machine person, 5 days a week, just one person. So I get to see 5 of my friends, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So what that does for us is, I already told you, it gets you to show up, which is real important, by the way. 2, it gets you to, it builds camaraderie because you're rooting for each other. You're digging the holes together. So you know, who do you think's getting the referral? The guy that's not making the calls with me? I don't think so. I'm thinking Lee's going to get the referral if he's making the calls with me. No offense, but you know, we can change that, by the way. So that's how it works. And what happens is, if you have synergy, once you do a deal, that's just an indicator that everybody gets the referral. So I was able to give out 28 referrals last year to 5 people because I had a team in place to do that. And what it also does with your customers is it makes you look like a hero, because number one, you need to know the person intimately enough and trust their capabilities absolutely enough to refer them business. Because if they blow up the account, you just crucified yourself with your customer, and you'll never get any business. So you don't want to risk that. So it's kind of a safety net having the right team. And
you ever disengage from somebody?
yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I don't ever ask for referrals, but if somebody is one way for a long time and just doesn't get it, you know, I just pick somebody else. Well, here's the thing, and I'm speculating on this one. I just observed a few times these networking groups, they ask you to bring 2 leads a week. I'm pretty damn good, and I'm pretty socially active, and I can only give out 28 in a year. So to give out 2 leads a week, you're getting a watered down lead, okay? And plus, if the folks that are in the room aren't doing this right now, there's no way that they have enough of an inventory of leads to give out. So they're looking in the newspaper, or they're driving by new construction on the street to hand out a lead that isn't good. They're handing out information. My introductions are, we're getting in the car, we're going to go get a handshake with the president that I just sold the building to. How's that sound? He needs liability insurance, you know. So that's how my referrals go. Being a go-giver is give just to give. You don't have to give for an exchange. You know, I try to just give because I know the wind will always catch my back if you know, that's just the law of the universe. You push enough stuff out there, people are watching you, and they'll catch you. They'll catch you if you need help. It may not be the specific person that you're giving to, but it'll come around. And the other thing is it expands your circle of influence, because you're helping two people, and they're going to think kindly for their circle of influence and their circle of influence. I have a competitor, good guy, friendly competitor. Real estate's a beautiful thing because it's a collaborative business. You know, you can pay each other. It's a good business. But he needed to go out cold calling. So we're talking about be willing to share information with your competition, right? I think that was the question, right? So we arranged to meet at the chamber at 12:30 on a Friday afternoon. He brings his flyers for his buildings over in Silo Bend. No, Palm River Road. And I have my flyers. And I said, why don't we go over to where your building is, try to help you out. Let's see if we can get you somebody for your building, and I'll put mine out as well. So we start making calls over in Silo Bend, now, which is on 301, if everybody doesn't know where that is. And the third call we go into, the guy goes, I remember you. I read your fairy tale book. I say, well, you're the only one. Thank you. I said, you know, I have a flyer, just hoping that if any of your customers know anybody looking for the building, let them know about it, and I'll see you in 6 weeks. And then this is my friend, Abby, and tell him what you have, and so he puts out his flyer. So we go through 3 calls, and then we come to a series of doors that are, you know, tinted glass, and they have buzzers on them. Now those are pretty terrifying doors, okay? And a lot of them said absolutely no soliciting on them too. So, but we rang every buzzer. And every door that was open, the person that came up was very friendly and took our information. So this was kind of helping him shift his paradigm on what can happen out there. So then we go over to this place, and he does his presentation. And I said, wait a second, it's a ice cream company. I said, you know what? When it was my turn, I go, last time I came in here, they gave me a free ice cream. Is there any ice cream? Yeah, go in the back so we get a free ice cream, right? And so now it's 2:15 in the afternoon, okay? We walk into our last call because I had to get back. I told him 2 hours. I have to get back and go to Lena's for my chocolate and see Michael. That's what I do on Friday afternoon. I'll never look tall. But anyway, we walk in the door, and the receptionist goes, would you like to meet the real estate person? Sure. So the lady comes out, very northeastern aggressiveness to her, but nice. It was right in my wheelhouse. And so she goes, what do you got? I said, you're not going to believe this, though. Back in the 1900s, I sold a lot of furniture, and I furnished this place, your previous tenant. She goes, would you like a tour? Sure. So we're walking around the whole place, and I'm telling her where this person, and she knew all the people that I furnished it for from a previous company. And she goes, you know, Joe, we're in 7,800 square feet, and we're looking for a bigger place, about 12,000 square feet. Well, how would you like a freestanding building with 200 parking spots less than 2 miles from here? I give her the address, I give her the flyer. How long a lease have you been in? 8 years. How long a lease do you want to sign? 10 years. Okay, here's the math on this one. She goes, it's all about the price. I understand. I already knew she's paying $14 a square foot, and I already knew our building's $9 a square foot. So even backing out the expenses, the profit for the landlord's $7 a square foot. 7 times 12,000 is $84,000. 3% annual increases over 10 years is $1 million lease. I just walked into a cold call on a Friday afternoon, helping a competitor, $1 million lease. I mean, his jaw almost hit the floor when it happened. But the other side benefit of that, I'm front of mind for him now, so he actually referred me another competitor for another building that I have. So that's why I help competitors. Well, first of all, I help them anyway, but that's what can happen if you help a competitor. Network after hours, you know, I'm not the guy with the donut mustache in the room. I don't have to shake everybody's hand. I usually hide in the weeds and wait for somebody to come talk with me, and it might be one or two people. But if I talk to you, I'm going to learn everything about you and learn how I could possibly help you. And they're going to know about me. And then I make a conscious effort to actually help the two people that I meet. You know, I usually take business cards and put my chewing gum in it when somebody that's trying to shake everybody's hand that comes up to us, because it's so disgenuine. You're not connecting with the person. So
It sounds like most of what you do is relationship. It's
all of it,
about relationship.
every business is relationship. Every business is long term. Unless you want to start over. I told you about pushing that boulder up the mountain. I don't want to ever do that again. We got momentum now. We're traveling at high velocity down a hill, and it's only going to get bigger. Right, Al? If you live in a small territory, this is what happens. Your competition knows that you control the market. So they're not going to compete with you. They'll refer you business. And you know that you can't serve the opportunities outside of the market as well as they can, so you're going to feed them business. And just like everybody here, oh, I got to meet Joe Cole. Like, okay, well, big deal. I'm Joe Cole. Hi, you know, it's like, I mean, the anticipation's bigger than the person. You know, so if you're in a small enough territory, well, actually, Kathy over at TD Bank, she says, Joe, you're everywhere. I say, I'm not everywhere. She says, I see your signs everywhere. I go, no, you don't. You see my signs everywhere in a 5-mile territory, and you happen to live in the same territory. So being the go-to guy is that if you're available to help people in the chamber, you know, salespeople on the street, what were the other ones I was talking about? Competitors that need help in your territory, intelligence, territory. It's going to be like a house of cards. It's all going to cave in, and it's all going to be good. When I created the community blog, it was really for goal setting, situational learning, accountability, and building a camaraderie for referrals. Does everybody here have written goals, and do they look at them every day? No? Well, this is really cool. I thought of this, and I'm proud of this. At least I think it's really cool, and I like all my ideas. But I said, wouldn't it be cool if you had a template of all your core goals, and you could fill them out once, and then you could hit an email reminder set 3 times a day to get an email on your phone that sends you a motivation quote and it shows you your goals 3 times a day. That's called programming. You know, your mind's a computer. It figures out the shortest, fastest, easiest way to solve something as long as you give it the input, the programming. So it's already set up for you. The second thing I thought of, remember that triangle card I showed you? These beat up looking trophies? I said, wouldn't it be cool if we made this look like Facebook? But the only difference is everybody's triangle's next to their profile. That's called peer accountability. And then wouldn't it be cool if we had a section that has success stories where members can contribute their stories and other members can look at the stories and live vicariously through those stories until they learn how to do it themselves. Well, that's called situational learning. Okay, you can live something before you actually lived it if you hear a story. Now I'm taking this one step further. It isn't out yet, but I'm making a reality TV show for this blog called 4 on the Floor 0 to 60, and it's going to be like Survivor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 junior reps from corporate companies, and within 60 days show them how to make 1,200 walk-in cold calls in 60 days and document their transformation along the way. So once a week, it'll be like Joe TV. You know, we'll see the episode and everybody votes on it, and then at the end of the year is have a recognition event down at the JW Marriott Ritz-Carlton, and the winners will get something. I haven't figured that one out yet, but that's a big plan. But the reason I did all that is because I knew none of this existed before. And I've bought tens of thousands of dollars worth of training, and they all teach you the same thing. How to say it, how to do it. But you know what they don't teach you? Is how to get yourself to do it. And I knew that, so that's how this program is actually an outline of what I do to get myself to do it. And I've always had written goals. I've never not achieved a goal that I've written down and looked at frequently. I just put them on autopilot now. It's just, it's a no-brainer. Every member can see how many calls you've made on the system, so that's called peer accountability. So you could set up teams inside your company and compete against each other. Your manager can be Big Brother without looking like Big Brother, and it's just a way to track things. So
Joe Cole's really running hard.
that's what I do. Not really. 402 hours in a year.
That's why it's your book.
Is that why? Yeah.
As opposed to somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, the whole year. Whole year. So let's go up to the top again. Okay, go to My Cold Calls. So go down a little bit. See, there's my card. And see, I can go in online, go down a little bit more. And I can put in a number there, and it'll change the amount. Like right now I'm at 1660. Just put in 10, because I know we'll do at least 10 today. Click. And now, go down. Now there's 1670 calls have been made. So, again, that's called peer accountability. Okay, get out of this and go up to the top one more time. Goal tracker, go to that. Oh. Go down a little bit, yep. Okay. Okay, these are all core goals. Like, here's my big dream goal. This is, I got to update the year because it hasn't arrived yet, but it will arrive. So, enroll 2011 members in 2011, celebrate with me at the JW Marriott. I'm a big dreamer. Family and relationship, I have that. Religious, spiritual. All of the core goals, is I think there's 10 or 12 of them. You can plug in one time, and then if you go back up to the top, go settings. I think this is dynamite, to be honest with you. Isn't it? And then you hit save settings. Even if you don't listen to a word I said, if you just use this, you'll blow away any goal that you ever set for yourself because you're programming yourself to do it. And you're going to send out the correct signals to do it. So that's what this looks like. We'll go back up to the top again. I'll close out of that. And then go down a little. Are we on the? Go to the home page. Okay. This isn't the home page yet. Okay, you go down here, right? Now there's Joe's blog. That's my pearls of wisdom, and then the second part is success stories. Click on success stories. Now my dream is that others will write the stories. I've populated this right now. Go ahead. But you can look at all the stories that other members are using, and just open one of those up and I'll show you what it looks like. I'll go down. So you go to the very bottom. Go to the right a little bit. I can't see me. See? Or go up. So if you write a story, this is Phil's story. He wrote it, and then his name comes up, and his card comes up underneath. So, and then if you go back out, there's a forum where you can chat with each other, or you can comment on it, and that's pretty cool, I think. And then the blog. Click on the blog. That's just, whatever I'm thinking about on a given moment. You go down. Oh, I'm sorry. Never saw a PowerPoint that worked correctly. But again, you know, these are just my little blurbs that I put up, you know, to let people know what I'm doing. So anyway, that's the background of the community I set up. The other things is there's a dashboard. I don't know if you can light up the dashboard, Michael. It shows you all the basically, you can go to Barnes & Nobles and buy my books, or get it all in the dashboard anytime you want with MP3s of me telling stories, or, you know, because this is what I decided to do. After spending lots of money producing product, I said, why not make it a remote access dashboard? It doesn't cost me anything to produce, and I can set up 6 packs of people for the year at $997. 6 people can get used to this for a year for $997. To me, that's a deal, but it might be a lot of money for, or an individual for $597, and make it affordable for lots of salespeople to access this. And then after the year, it's like $9.99 a month to stay on if you want to stay on. But I mean, I offered this to the chamber, and I'll say it out loud. If anybody's a member of the chamber and wants this, just say you're a member of the chamber. I'm going to give you 3 years on the blog for the same price, because I want to help members of the chamber be successful, and I want participation, because I want a lot of people sipping pina coladas with me down at the JW Marriott at the end of the year. And I want you all to prove me wrong. I don't think I'll be wrong. Now, let me ask you this. What do all these stories have in common? The stories I told you today?
Facing your discomfort and just getting the tough stuff done and up front.
How about you?
I just think it's, you just getting through it. I mean, it's not that scary once I think you start walking through the door. I think you just have to get through the door.
How about you?
I think it's the same thing, just quit talking about it and go do it. I read something recently that said that you know, quit wasting all your time trying to Google and find out as much as you can about the company before you go call on them. Just go call on them.
Well, those are all wrong answers, by the way. Hi.
2 hours a day, 5 synergistic partners.
No.
Yeah?
Well, that's the first two.
You want to know the? Do you want to know the answer?
Yes.
You ready for this?
Isn't that hard?
They're all my stories.
Oh,
You need to create your own stories, and the only way you can create your own stories is if you play the game. What's that? Yeah, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. You walk into 20 deals in 40 weeks.
20 deals in 40.
You're an A student. I'm a C student.
Somebody missed it.
So if you think this was any fun, fill out the report that they gave you. I've never had one of those, but, or, you know.
You got a report.
And obviously, you don't have to get involved. I'm just saying it's here for you if you want to get involved. Just go to mercenarycoldcalling.com on the card. And like I said, I mean, this is how I do things. And I just figured out a way to put together a blueprint for people to learn how I do it in the shortest period of time. That's all I got.